Hi, today I'll be talking about util.py, which is all the shortcuts that are stored for views.py. So firstly, starting at the top, we import re. This stands for regular expressions, and we will use it later to sub in a blank space for creating the file name. So firstly, we define our first function, list entries, and this basically gives us all the entries for the index page. So whenever you open the Wikipedia homepage, you can see all of the entries, and then you can click on each one. So firstly, we define the file names as all of the entries, all of the directories in list, in this list of entries, which is basically this folder here that contains all of the markdown files. And then we return a list that is sorted, and it contains all of the names of the files without empty. So if we look at this function re.sub, basically with this part r blah 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 slash blah blah, so here r and then the backslash allows whatever follows to lose its initial meaning. So then we find this thing, which is known as the pattern for re.sub, and then we replace it with a blank space, and this is known as the file name. So the attributes for the resub function are resub re.sub, and then it will be pattern replacement string count 0 flag 0. But these two things are default, so we don't need to care about them. And then we don't want .md to be in the list of entries, so we basically replace it or delete it. For file name in files, if file names end with empty, so this is a conditional statement that is put after the return statement, so that it lists all of the files. Okay, moving on, I want to also talk about this character. The $sign is a special character that allows the function to find the match at the end of the string. So for example, foo and then $sign would match bar foo, but not foo bar. And the same thing goes for md and then $sign, which means it will try and find things that end with .md. And you can read more about this in the documentation. And then define save entry title content. Basically, this function saves the entry that you just created. And firstly, the file name is equal to the f literal string, which combines entries and the title that is passed into one single string, which is the file name. If the default storage exists, here we verify if the file already exists or not. If it does exist, then we delete it because we don't want any overlapping files. And then we save a new one. Or even if it doesn't exist, we still save the new one. And we save it under the file name and the content file content. So that basically saves your file. And note that here we try to delete the md. Here we need to add .md markdown back because all these file names are .md. Also, we don't need to convert it because when the user is saving, they're using markdown language to save, and here we're also using markdown language to store the file. Okay, and then the last function is get entry title. Here we retrieve an encyclopedia entry by its title. If no such entry exists, the function returns none. So firstly, we try and getting the file. F is equal to default storage, the open f literal string, which combines the title and the entries slash title name .md. And then after we open it, we need to decode it because now it's in markdown, but we wanted to turn it into HTML. So we return read decode. Okay, And if the file doesn't exist, there's a special error name for this. So here it says file not found error, and instead of rendering the file, we return none. And there's a special error message that should be encoded for views.py. So that's all the shortcuts that we need for the views.py. Thanks.